Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. In this video, we want to talk about the makhraj of the letter Mim, and we want to talk about the ghunnah and the makhraj of the khayshum, or the nasal cavity. So Bismillah, let's start. In terms of learning outcomes we want to get out from this video, we want to get three main points. The first is to understand the makhraj of Mim. The second is to define and understand the makhraj of the khayshum, or the nasal cavity. And the third is to talk about the ghunnah when it comes to the mim and the nun. So let's start by talking about the makhraj of mim. When we say ma, mu, mi, it's fairly easy to see that the makhraj of mim is from the lips. So the makhraj of mim is by closing the lips, but with closing the lips, we have a ghunnah. So the makhraj of mim is by closing the lips, and it is accompanied by a ghunnah, the ghunnah from the nasal cavity. So why do we say accompanied by a ghunnah from the nasal cavity? Now let's talk about the makhraj itself. So when you say you're closing the lips. So in terms of the sound, so if you're closing the lips, the sound is trying to come out, and it comes and hits the lips, so it can't come out from the lip area or from the mouth. So what it does instead is it comes out from the nasal cavity, because the nasal cavity is open. So the makhraj of mim is by closing the lips, and it is accompanied by a ghunnah, or a nasalation sound from the nasal cavity. Let's go to the images to explain it further. So here is the makhraj of mim, and as we said, it's by closing the lips, and it's accompanied with a ghunnah from the khayshum. So you can see the lips there fully closed, and as we said, so you have the sound trying to come out from the mouth and finds the lips closed. Instead, it comes out from the nasal cavity, and that is the ghunnah. So with the makhraj of mim, you can imagine it having two halves. A half of the makhraj that comes from the lips, and another half that comes from the nasal cavity. And these two halves complete each other. So these two halves of the makhraj complete each other. So we talk about the makhraj of the khayshum, or the ghunnah that comes with the mim, as the completing half. So that's the half that completes the makhraj. And the part from the lips, that's the completed half. So to summarize again, makhraj of mim is by closing the lips, and it is accompanied by a ghunnah. And we define two halves, a half which is from the lips, the completed half, and the half from the nasal cavity, which is the completing half of the makhraj. And a note to take away is when we say we don't press on the lips and like over exaggerate. We don't press too hard on the lips. The lips just close. So now let's move on to some of the common mistakes with the letter mim. The first very common mistake with the letter mim is to give the mim a bit of a bounce, or a qalqalah, when it is sakin. So an example from Surah Al-Fatiha, an'amta, an'amta, that mim which is sakin, a common mistake there is to say an'amta, an'amta. So we want to hold the makhraj of mim and not do a bounce on the mim when it is sakin. The second common mistake with the makhraj of mim is to pronounce it thick, especially when it is sandwiched next to a thick letter. For example, in the word makhmasah, makhmasah. It's incorrect to say makhmasah, makhmasah. So ma is correct, ma is incorrect. Now let's move on to defining the khayshum, or the makhraj of khayshum. Now the makhraj of khayshum, it is the nasal cavity. And from the nasal cavity comes this nasalation sound, which is a ghunnah. So the ghunnah is a nasalation sound that comes from the nasal cavity, and it accompanies the mim and the nun. And we say that this ghunnah accompanies the mim and the nun in all their cases. What do we mean by accompanies it in all their cases? So if we say amma, you can hear the ghunnah. Amma, عم. You can hear the ghunnah with the meme. So if a meme has a shadda or a sukoon or a harakah, it always has a ghunnah. عم. That one's easy to hear. Another example, hum, hum, hum. That meme in the end has a ghunnah, even though it is sakin. And if the meme has a harakah, maktuba, maktuba, that meme still has a ghunnah. So the ghunnah accompanies the meme and the noon in all their cases. If it has a shadda or a sukoon or a harakah, there is always a ghunnah with the meme and the noon. However, the length is different. Amma. The length of the ghunnah is different than hum and is different than maktuba. But that's a discussion for another day, insha'Allah. And the same applies to the noon. When you say inna, inna, there's a ghunnah with the noon which has a shadda, and there's a ghunnah with the noon if it has a harakah or if it is sakin as well. Nasta'een. So the noon at the end has a ghunnah, and the noon at the beginning, na, has a ghunnah as well. But just like we said with the meme, the length of the ghunnah is slightly different. Now there's a very important point when it comes to ghunnah. If you realized when we defined ghunnah with regards to the makharij of letters, we said that the ghunnah accompanies the meme and the noon in all their cases and in all their scenarios. So with that definition, it's important to note that the ghunnah does not accompany other letters. The ghunnah does not accompany other letters. What do we mean by that? So we don't want there to be a ghunnah in our reading in general. When we say a, I, u, we don't want there to be a ghunnah. We don't want to say a, I, u. The sound is completely different. So we want the ghunnah to accompany the meme and noon, but not the other letters. Let's give some examples for clarity. So for example, if I read the word ya ayyuha, ya, so this alif mad in ya and ayyuha, there has to be no ghunnah in it. So it should be ya. And the way to check that is if I close my nose when I'm saying it, the sound should not change. So ya, hear that sound, and then I'll try closing my nose and let's see if you can pick up a different sound. Ya, ya, ya. So I'm closing my nose and opening my nose while I'm saying ya, but the harf alif or the sound of the letter alif doesn't change. However, here's the thing. If there is a ghunnah, if you say ya, ya, now if I close my nose, I will hear the difference. Ya, ya. You hear that? Ya. So if I close my nose and there is a difference in sound, therefore I am making a ghunnah with the alif, which is incorrect. The ghunnah in terms of makharij of letters comes only with a noon and a meme. Here's another example. Nasta'een, nasta'een. So the ya in nasta'een, we don't want the ghunnah to be there with the ya. So we don't want to say nasta'een, nasta'een. You hear that ghunnah? Let's check it again. Nasta'een. Did you hear the difference in sound when I was closing my nose and opening? That's because I'm producing a ghunnah with the ya. Nasta'een. And that is incorrect. And here's a third one, just to cement this idea a bit further. In the waw maddiyah, for example, yu'minun, yu'minun. So with the waw, there should be no ghunnah, just like I read it. If there is a ghunnah, which is incorrect, it would sound like this. Yu'minun, yu'minun. Did you hear that sound? And now let's check again. Let's close the nose. Yu'minun. That one was actually quite clear. So we should avoid the ghunnah with other letters except noon and meme. And you find that mistake in some people's readings where the entire reading has a ghunnah throughout. And it takes some practice to make sure that there's no ghunnah except the areas that there should be ghunnah in the reading. Let's now recap and touch back on the learning outcomes we wanted to talk about. First, we wanted to define the makhraj of mim. And we said that the makhraj of mim is by closing the lips, and it is accompanied with a ghunnah from the nasal cavity. And we spoke about the fact that there are two halves to the makhraj of mim. A half which is from the lips, and another half which is from the nasal area. And the half from the nasal area completes the half from the lips. And we defined the makhraj of the khayshum, which is the nasal cavity, and we said that from the nasal cavity, the ghunnah comes out. And the ghunnah, we defined it as a nasalization sound which accompanies the mim and the noon in all their scenarios and all their cases. If it has a shaddah, there's a ghunnah. If it has a sukoon, there's a ghunnah. If it has a haraka, there's a ghunnah for the mim and the noon. And we spoke about the ghunnah and one of the very common mistakes, which is to have a ghunnah in the reading in general, in letters where there should not be a ghunnah. And I hope we took this exercise about closing the nose as a test to make sure that there's no ghunnah in the letters that shouldn't have ghunnah. That's the end of the series about the articulation points of letters or the makharij, and we'll see you in the next videos. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.